Hi, everybody. This is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profit. I'm delighted once again to have with me Synth, the co-founder of Skycoin. We're going to be talking all things Skycoin. Now, before I introduce him, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Crypto Rich YT, join my Telegram announcements channel. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please comment, please like, please subscribe, please click the notification bell, and come over to BitTube because I post my videos on BitTube first, and that's because of YouTube's shadow ban. And which, by the way, Synth is brutal, absolutely brutal. I'm getting quarter of the views that I would ordinarily be getting.
What is how bad is the shadow banning getting? They banned everything, right? Trump, QAnon, anyone bitching, everything's banned. Like nothing isn't banned.
Well, there are smaller YouTubers who get way more views than I do because they're not getting the algorithm being manipulated. If you want to know which cryptocurrencies or altcoins to invest in for long-term, medium-term, or short-term, or to trade in, then take a look at Tokenmetrics. Tokenmetrics uses artificial intelligence-based crypto indices, rankings, and price predictions to give you the best possible altcoins and cryptocurrencies to hodl or trade with. Use my affiliate code for a massive 10% off and 3 months free on the yearly plan. Link in the description below. Hi, before I start my interview with Synth, I just want to give a shout out to Frey's channel on YouTube. If you're interested in finding out about Skycoin, then I do recommend his channel. He has some really great, neat videos that explain the Skycoin ecosystem simply and clearly. So go ahead, watch his videos, like, comment, subscribe, and tell him Crypto Rich sent you. So, Synth, it's been a couple of months since you and I last spoke. Let's start. What we're going to do, we're going to get an update on Skycoin and the Skycoin project and the different elements. For those that are new to the project, because there are people moving into the space, do you want to give them a brief rundown of what the Skycoin project is?
Oh gosh, so people are gonna be here. Some people are gonna be hearing this for like 100,000 times. Let me try to do this again. So Skycoin it's an ecosystem. We have a programming language. We have a blockchain platform. We have a video game engine written in our programming language CX. We have VPN service, mesh networking. We just have a lot of stuff. But mostly we're doing the biggest thing that we're doing is a decentralized ISP, internet service provider, where people are basically going to be getting coins for running, owning hardware, and basically providing community internet. And we have 4 to 10,000 nodes online right now, acting as traffic relays for this backend, which is mostly going to be used for VPN, but it's also going to be used for like companies using this network for their what's called VLAN. So we have a bunch of different things. We have some consumer tech like VPN apps, and we're also doing decentralized social media. Then we have some corporate stuff like virtual LAN, like Cisco, to replace Cisco MPLS networks, and it's really really boring unless you're like an IT guy at some mega corporation who has 10,000 employees bitching at them that they need to, they can't download their files off the internal blah 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 blah, or their whatever. So and then we have other things like we were working on mesh networking for over 10 years now, and just like decentralized telecommunications algorithms and like peer-to-peer replication of immutable data structures and different routing algorithms. So we used a lot of like PhD level stuff that was experimental in the 80s that we're now bringing to operation. So Skywire, which is this decentralized mesh networking project, that was based on research in the Cold War in the 1980s for like microsatellite swarms that have like reconfigurable networking, and what's called zero conf, which was networking which had zero human configuration, because they want, like, Russia detonates a nuclear weapon and there's 45 of their satellites go down. They wanted the communications to be rerouted within less than 1 second or 300 milliseconds, so that each satellite had multiple connections, like a laser connection, a radio connection, and different types of connections. And they wanted to be able to dynamically reroute traffic based upon whether or not you had a temporary failure, like a radio pulse disrupts the radio for a second, or you have equipment went out for 2 minutes because static, or the satellite was permanently disabled. So you don't know when it goes down what the failure mode was. So there were these new algorithms. They were trying to do zero configuration networking, which in the real world sounds great because a Cisco network engineer costs $60,000 a year, and and you need a lot of them, and you need this guy with a certificate to set up your MPLS network, and another guy for a certificate with this and that, and they can spend 10 years of their life in these certificate training,
All
and
right.
then
Hold on a second. We still just want to give a basic outline of the Sky.
yeah. So we built this new networking algorithm that is zero configuration. It just works. It goes down. It automatically reroutes. So it's pretty nice for VPN, for corporate VLAN, and government, military, large corporation. Like Starbucks. You have all your offices are on one network and things like that. So we developed that technology, and then we added blockchain monetization so that if people needed to use nodes outside of their own corporate internet, they could actually rent out capacity and bandwidth, and eventually storage space from users. So that's something. It's a very long project. It's been going on 10 years from now. We launched the test net I think about 2 years ago. We had 10,000 nodes online, which was more than Ethereum had. So we had a lot of people using this and testing it. It was very hard to use. You had to use Linux, compile it, and then about a year ago, we released the testnet, or the mainnet, which deprecated the testnet and got rid of like 150 problems. We discovered after it was very difficult to use. And now we're releasing the real mainnet, which is the mainnet that you can just install and it works, and magical coins just fall into your wallet, and you don't even know what the hell it's doing, and you don't have to be a Linux guru. And install. You had to install cryptographic keys by hand in text files in Linux on the command line before to set it up, and it was not many people could do that, and it was a pain in the ass. And now we're getting into having like a GUI, and you just click a button, and it just auto updates, and it does everything magically. So we're and that took a while. So now we're in this year we're basically it's been a very difficult year because the virus and all the flights getting shut down and all the bullshit, and and after 2 years of the altcoin winter, but we're still going and going and going, and everything's still going in the background, but not as fast as I would want it to go, which is instantly, but it's real world. What can you do? And so basically, some of the stuff we're looking at going forward is like I have a mining.
Hold on a second before we do that, right? So let me just say what I understand from our conversations and my looking at Skycoin, the elements of the Skycoin ecosystem. So Skycoin has its own Skycoin wallet. It has a coin called Coin Hours, which people get just for holding Sky in your wallet.
So we have a gas DeFi type little thingy with earning some rewards.
And the Coin Hours pays for the transaction fees. There's a Sky Miner, which is it's not a it's a different algorithm.
So we have a hardware platform with these little computing clusters that we're building a second version of this for small businesses, but these do the traffic forwarding, file storage, running decentralized applications. So we have we have a hardware platform for decentralized applications and the telecom service, because a lot of the stuff we do is hardware. So it's you need nodes and things. This is like a private Amazon cloud that you have in your own company.
Yep, there's the Skywire antenna, which sends the signal out for the mesh network.
Where is that? I should have. Yeah, so I have 40 antenna prototypes. So this is this is like a 2.4 gigahertz Yagi antenna. You put it on a roof, and the other guy puts it on the roof, and then it's supposed to automatically bridge the network. And but we did 45 different types of antennas.
Yep, there is a Skywire VPN. Is that launched now or due to be launched?
Yes, it's right now. It's working. They're just doing the GUI, and they just sent me mock-ups yesterday, and it looks like it'll. And the back end was updated. I think the update was supposed to be last week, but I think there might have been some emergency bug or something. But yeah, it's the VPN is being put out. So we're doing some stuff our VPN is the first multi-hop, multi-route VPN. So normally you connect from one node to another node, from say Beijing to San Francisco, and that traffic goes between multiple countries and multiple ISPs. And basically, your rate of bandwidth and latency is going to be the slowest link. So if it has to go from Beijing to Japan to South Korea to San Francisco over a cable, right? The speed is the slowest path. So what we did was we allow you to first of all choose the path of the traffic. So we can do instead of just a direct hop, we can do Beijing, Japan, South Korea. We can choose on a city by city basis what the path of the traffic is going, and then we're able to open up multiple paths in parallel. So like 10 different paths going through different routes, and for redundancy, lower latency. And this avoids this thing called hot potato routing, which is when
Hold
you
on a second.
inject.
Hold on a second, right? We're
Yeah,
going into detail with that.
yeah, okay, yeah.
So there's the VPN that's being tested and is going to be launched, and the whole thing is built on CX programming language, which is very, very easy to learn.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing about
This is
Skycoin, it
Yeah,
operates.
this is our programming language, which is pretty cool. We were starting university courses and starting to do hackathons, and then COVID hit, and all the universities got shut down, and the students are still not back. So
Right.
it was just really, really. We had this huge thing going, and then it's like getting hit by a bus. So that just
Okay,
sucks. So we're waiting for the universities to open again.
we'll come to the elements in a moment, and then finally, Skycoin is a platform protocol as well as a currency with Sky. It's a platform protocol in the way that Ethereum or Cardano, that you can build decentralized applications on top of it, and as well as the retail arm. For people like myself who hold Sky and other people who hold Sky, there's also the commercial applications for it to be used with businesses and organizations. So that's a brief overview of the whole Skycoin ecosystem.
About a third of it of what we finished.
And also,
This is like
Skycoin, was it they ICO'd in 2011? One of the first
2009.
cryptocurrencies. 2009, was
What
it?
year is it? Was it what year is it? I don't even know what year it is. It's almost
Anyway,
a
it was
decade.
very early, very early. So it's been around for a while. And it's OG of the cryptocurrency space. Okay, so let's start by looking at the various elements. And I know there may be some things that you don't want to talk about because, for whatever
Go on
reason,
for
they're not
4
ready
hours.
to go public. Right? You had the CX programming language, and you said that because of COVID, I know you were doing hackathons and going to teach people the opportunity.
We had a university R&D space set up, and we had like I think it was like 500 square meters, like 5,000 square foot area in the university to set up like a lab and computers, and students were going to come in for courses and things like that, and we're going to have like a full-time teacher and do education materials, and then we were setting that up, and then that was going to happen in the next semester, and then COVID hit, and I think that was going to start in about August. What was that? That's just anyway. It's just so screwed up. It was just so screwed. So now and also the government stuff we were doing, like all the meetings got canceled. The airports are shut down. No one wants to leave the city because they get a 14-day quarantine. They tell the officials you can't leave. Um, Stuff like So it's just a complete chaos. It's been a very slow year
Right. But
because of
any
all this
chances
stuff.
of teaching CX online? Can you do?
Yeah, I want to get like a Coursera type module, and I want to um, it's just stuff like that. But basically, with CX, what we have now is we're trying to get the CX 1.0 milestone, and that's when I can click one button, create a blockchain, and then start running my app on the blockchain. So, and then other people can communicate remotely with that application using dMessage, which is our decentralized messaging system. So, that's something that we're trying to do now, and there's some mostly done 90%, but there's some small hiccups that are just annoying that are just taking a bit longer than I want. And then someone finally did a decentralized Twitter in CX, but it works, but they did it sort of wrong, and we have to, fix some issues. And so I want to start getting developers to make small applications. Like I want a decentralized Twitter, a chat app like Telegram. I want a decentralized blogging platform, news aggregators, things like little just apps that people are using. But I want the back end to be on blockchain and the front end app mostly to be in CX. Um, for providing the data and they have a web front end. You can do that in multiple different things, like for mobile. But most of it's the data. All the data is on blockchain, and all of most of the application logic is on CX, and then you have a front end which can be whatever you want it to be. So we're trying to start doing these decentralized applications on blockchain. I think that's more and more important because of what's happening now with the media censorship. I've saw at least 30 decentralized YouTube alternatives come up in the last couple months just because of how many people are getting purged. And you saw Spotify just signed what is that guy's
Big
name?
deal with Joe Rogan, and then
Yeah, Joe
they've
Rogan.
did all his
Then
videos.
yeah, then they moved to Spotify, and Spotify was going to launch a video platform. Now they're organizing internal revolts of employees at Spotify to purge Joe Rogan. So they probably pay this guy like $60 million to come on their platform, and now their employees are rioting and screaming like monkeys, and throwing shit at the executives, telling them like get rid of this guy because he's a rate. I don't know what they're calling him. He's a
Yes.
and so
Fabulous.
he's
Actually, since just on that, when you go back to Skycoin, right? And this
yeah.
is for anybody who's watching, when Synth on Joe Rogan's show, if you have any Joe Rogan, or you can lobby Joe Rogan to have Synth as a guest, I think that would be very entertaining, and it would get the word of cryptocurrency in Skycoin now. Okay,
So
so
we need to get these decentralized platforms out ASAP because there's a huge demand for that, and it's something that's not going to end. I honestly, I think by September, by the end of the year, this global internet that we've had, where you can connect to any service in any country, that's going to be over because once China's already blocking the U.S. apps. And once U.S. starts blocking the Chinese apps, and the EU is going to start blocking the Russian apps, and the Russia, it's that's why we built this interoperability layer because we have companies that have campuses in multiple countries, and they need to exchange data. They want their own network, and this is actually great for us because in China they're banning Cisco equipment, and the U.S. is banning Huawei equipment. So if you're an international company, you basically have to find an open source equipment. You have to flash your own firmware. You need some type of software defined networking to replace the Cisco and Huawei equipment because you're not allowed to buy it because of the government contracting rules and because of the import restrictions and all this bullshit that so in the middle of that fight, we're actually sort of positioned. I saw this coming like 10 years ago, and we're positioned pretty well to benefit from some of these social trends like the network balkanization and things like that. And I think ultimately we're going to have decentralized social media. I don't think that they're going to have this period of totalitarian social media control, and I think it's going to last. It might even last a decade. It's going to go on for a while, 4 years, 5 years, but at some point it's going to end because people are going to get sick of it. And so, 10 years ago, it was something nice to have, but now I think it's essential in that as soon as these platforms exist, we're going to see a migration of 100 million users, a billion users, 10 million users a month start migrating away from these platforms. So, for instance, Telegram right now is pretty free. You can say whatever you want. They don't really censor you. But over time, you see that there's a creeping encroachment and that they're going to put the same pressure on Telegram that they put on Facebook. And they say that no one is neutral. Like you say, oh, QAnon, you got to censor these Republicans. You got to censor this guy's channel for his election. And then they say, well, we're neutral. We're not in politics. We're not getting involved. And they, no. It's like and they say you take a side or we shoot you. This is like the people who don't take a side are going to be the first casualties of the revolution, according to the Twitter executives. So
so you're building these decentralized applications to combat censorship, right? Just so,
I wouldn't even say censorship anymore. I used to call it censorship, but now it's to combat politics. It's just to combat human nature, or to combat like human enslavement. It's not even like combat censorship. It's just like we're anti-human enslavement.
Yes.
Like you're either for us or against us. You're either pro-slave or anti-slave.
Okay. I want to ask you about the Skycoin team, right? And then we can go on to the VPN because I think that ties in with what we're talking about, right? So how many developers are there in the Skycoin project?
I have no idea. So I shouldn't say that. I have no, but we at peak we had like 300 people, which was crazy. Like I couldn't figure out the names, what was going on. You had like 8 different groups. They're going in like this. It was like a freaking like kindergarten you're managing like kindergartners or like herding cats or something. And so at the peak we were in that situation where like this manager's doing this, he's not coordinating with this guy, and these 3 people need to be in the on with all agreeing on what we have to do, and we're launching this thing, and this guy has to have this right, this guy has to have this right, and that they had completely different ideas, like so we had that situation which during the bubble we expanded way too fast, and after the bubble going into altcoin winter, we sort of got everything into control, and a lot of people moved on to crypto because it was like dying, right? So we kept going. I think we had 98% of the crypto companies in China shut down, and we just went through that. It was fine. It didn't really affect us as much because I had actually gone through these boom and bust cycles multiple times. It could be my 6th or 8th time going through that. I don't even remember how many bubble. I just remember bubble, 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 burst, bubble, burst, bubble, burst, and so it's sort of factored into the management now. But so we went and we contracted, and basically during the winter, like marketing was useless. Didn't matter what you did, and Twitter or Facebook, Google was censoring everything. We couldn't run ad campaigns. So if you can't run ads, why do you need an ad manager and things like that, right? So and a lot of people moved off. Like one of our had our business development. He became the CEO of Bitcoin.com exchange and things like that. So a lot of our people, like they worked at Skycoin, they moved on, and one of the guys who did our marketing, he now owns he has his own marketing company, and he has a bunch of people, and he's doing pretty well. And he went on a tour like 40 countries and was backpacking around the world. And Danish became CEO of Bitcoin.com under Roger Ver, and the people that just all this guy started his own company. So it's crypto. It's a lot of young people. They come in, they learn how to run a company, how to do project management, and how to do this, how to do that, and they come, they go, right? So um, and for software companies, you actually deal with about a 50% a year turnover rate. If you look at Apple, they have 40 or 60% turnover rate. So they have 100,000 employees or whatever it is, and every year half of them leave, and then they hire another 50,000 people. And that's really normal
So
in
how many
technology.
devs does Skycoin have now, roughly?
So it's mostly by teams. So we have a CX social media team. We have a CX core language team. We have a video game development team. Then there's a Skywire team, and each team is normally 1 to 3 people. So in the core CX language team, I think it's like 2 people now, and then our video game team, we have about like 3 people doing like video game engine development and video game tools and things like that. And then we have a new team that's doing different like machine learning and numerical algorithm stuff in CX. And then we have a hardware office, which is a bit more complicated than the software team. So I don't know. It's like maybe like 2 dozen. Right now, it's about like 2 dozen people. And we also have contractors. So it's like this guy will go on vacation for 2 months, so he was full time. Now it's really confusing. But it's not like it was at the peak. And
Right.
software development too is something that I've been doing a very long time. And we hire like people out of college, you train them, and it takes like 6 or 8 months until they're like really good and professional, and they don't need to be like supervised, and they know the standards. So it's we have a development shortage. So there's all these things that we're doing, like the decentralized VPN, the social media. At this point in our project plan, we were supposed to have 6 or 8 teams of 1 to 3 people full time that were just doing, like, this guy's doing decentralized Twitter. This guy's migrating blogs on the CX. This guy is doing backend infrastructure. This guy is writing, a CX SQL thing so companies can use the CX database to replace SQL. This guy, we had this project plan where we were supposed to have 6 to 8 teams with 1 to 3 people per team
Mm.
that were each developing one specific application or support function. And what ended up happening was the coronavirus, basically, people can't come between the cities. They want to go for a job interview. It's like 2-week quarantine. A lot of people went home over the Chinese break, and they couldn't come back because last year, because they weren't sure what was going to happen with the virus, or there were no flights. So this really hit our expansion plan for the software it's what we were going to do with software developers. And we were even going to open up an office, some offices overseas, and recruit more local developers in those offices. But now you can't travel, you can't really do anything, so for almost the last year. So it's just been you
Slowed,
know
slowed things down, stymied everything. I've heard this from other projects,
well,
right?
it stopped us from hiring new people to to expand. But the other stuff, the core backend is overdeveloped now. It's to the point that like everything is done and we should be using it, but we have a shortage basically of people to do the 100,000 things. And there's also the question of, do you really want to expand if we're going into the really like the worst financial crisis in 100 years? It's not really a good time to increase the headcount by 4x, because you don't know what the situation with the markets. You don't want to expand 4x and then go into a situation where the stock market falls off a cliff after the election or something like that. So I think that after we're going to see what happens with the election, and then about March, I think we're going to go. And so anyway, it is what it is.
I got it. It's been difficult for many, many people in many organizations, many different ways. Okay, now let's go on to the VPN,
Mhm.
right? So anything else you want to say about where we're at with the VPN? When will it
Yeah.
be in public?
So the back end nodes have been done. Everything's done. and we're basically just doing the GUI, and then we're launching that. And they already, I wanted them to launch this 6 months ago, and they're done with the mobile app. So I don't know why they keep doing all this shit. Like, can they launch the desktop one and then launch the mobile 3 months later? They just have this thing of launching, getting everything done, and running out of work to do before they launch the freaking product. And I just launch the beta, launch the alpha, get it out there, start working on the bugs. Because I hate when you spend a year and you launch something, and then, oh, we have 180 bugs that we didn't know about before we launched. So I think it's the mobile app is actually already done and working, and the desktop app is also working, and the corporate untap adapter, multiple interface version, things like Docker, that's already working. So it's in a really it's really overdone right now. So there's some things that I want to add, like I want to have like a graph of all the nodes, and I want to show the network congestion and latency and the throughput, and I want to be able to support multiple concurrent connections at the same time, and I want to do like rating by uptime, latency, and bandwidth, and giving like gold stars, silver stars, bronze stars, like start rating the nodes by the quality of service level and things like that. So and there's like features like that I want to. So there's a lot of stuff on the roadmap. Like we're supposed to do bandwidth metering, so that people who are contributing more resources to the network are getting larger rewards and things like that. And we're supposed to be doing antennas, and more of these local community projects where like a town or a small community puts up like antennas on the roof, and they start building out a local network for themselves. We have a guy in Australia doing a wireless internet service provider, and he's doing crowdfunding, and he's trying to do this. So there's different a lot, just a lot of stuff going on. It's
Right.
it's crazy actually.
When do you reckon roughly it'll be available public? And I take it people can purchase it using Skycoin.
Well, right now you get buy some Skycoin, you get coin hours, and the coin hour you get them for free every hour, and that's what's used for the VPN. So you can just buy like $400, $500 of Skycoin, and then it just sits in your wallet generating these coin hours. And you could buy the coin hours, but you can also just spend the coin hours for the VPN service or file storage and things like that. So what I'm really excited about is we're building out this global network of all these nodes, and we're going to have thousands, hundreds of thousands of nodes globally. They're going to have bandwidth and storage space. So if we go later on and we want to do a centralized YouTube, we have enough storage space now that I could have 5 or 6 copies of every video channel in every country. So when someone downloads that video, they can download it from 5 people in parallel, like BitTorrent, and within their own country without having to leave the country where it's going to get blocked by some firewall. So we built this whole hardware system, and then the management system for dealing with it, and inter-process communication, and all the stuff, the base infrastructure. And now we get to do the fun stuff, which is the applications. Because once we have that installed base and the infrastructure, then we can do these things. But if you were to say like you're going to build YouTube today, you're not Google. You don't have all these data centers. You don't have fiber optic cables. You don't have these network administrators. You're starting from scratch against this company that has all these resources. So I really like this. What we do is like infrastructure-led development. Is we build a hardware platform, inter-process communication, service discovery. We build this infrastructure on the back end, and then we can build all these applications on top of that infrastructure, and also third parties can too. So, and then what's really exciting for me too is on the revenue side, on the corporate side, is I really don't like the blockchain market because it's boom and bust. Like you have these people trying to shove $50 million down your throat one day, and the next day it's a freaking graveyard, and it's everything is dead, all the companies are shutting down, and then 2 months later you're back in a boom cycle where you have to hire 400 people. I'm when I was 20, I could deal with that. I get my hair is growing back my hair was turning gray and falling out from the last bubble. My hair is coming back. Everyone says my hair is growing back, and it's not as gray as it was. So I don't want to go into. I don't want the Skycoin operations to be reliant upon the crypto market anymore. So one of the things is like you have a mining site, like you have a coal mine, right? And they have all these sensors and safety, and they want to remotely operate the machine, which is like a camera and something that like digs out coal or something that's moving coal, right? And do you really need a guy in the coal mine driving this thing if you can have a camera and a remote control? So they need some type of like wireless network inside their coal mine. Okay. And that's perfect for our technology. And that's like $2 million per deployment, and up to maybe 500,000 to $2 million per deployment. And there's like 5,000 coal mines in just one province of China, and the government wants to modernize their safety equipment, and they want this and that. And once we do one system, we can roll it over. So I'm really, really excited about going and being able to do stuff like oil well logging equipment or coal mines or safety equipment, and things like that. So and it's
Just
really boring, but that helps us a lot because I don't have to worry. We don't have to worry anymore about bringing in money from crypto,
sure.
which is
So just on those commercial relations, and
Mhm.
like the ones that you mentioned, and there may be others as well. Are there any existing current live agreements in place, or are there others that where you're in negotiating, or is it at the stage of you're out looking?
So really funny. We go to some town, right? We meet the guy, you meet the mayor, right? And you talk to the people.